So we walk inside and I go, well, look, dude, at least you can look on the bright side. Like, it's been long enough now that you're probably in the clear. And he goes, well, no, I just got it like 2 days ago. I go, well, you should probably say your prayers.
Oh. He got the first jab 2 days ago?
No, he got his booster 2 days ago.
Wow.
What's going on? It's time for another episode of Too Hard for the Radio, transmitting from the future free state of Greater Idaho, where I forgot to do the Trump dance. I am the one-armed madman, and from Music City, America, we've got the great Daniel Steele in the house. What's up, man? How we doing?
What's happening, everybody? First off, I want to give a big thank you to John from Virginia for picking up some happy powder using the Too Hard code.
Oh, thank you, John.
So everybody go to gethappyhvppy.com, use the code Too Hard, or click the link in the show notes, and you too can be happy. It's that time of year.
I don't even know anybody that lives in Virginia, so that's pretty cool. You know,
Yeah,
just some random person that I've never met listening to the podcast, buying your product. It's a small world.
There we go.
You know, maybe it's somebody I raced with or somebody I worked with back in the day. Who really knows? But it's cool that it's actually making some progress. You know, I had a guy on earlier today who was like in the marijuana industry for a long time, and we started talking about happy, and he was like, "Oh, that's very interesting," you know, and he was very interested in it. It's pretty cool. Like everybody that I've brought it up to, like I've brought it up on a couple of podcasts now, and everybody's very interested in it, and to me, the fact that you are that you believe in it so much that like you put your money where your mouth is, like really says something to me about the product, because I trust that you know what you're doing. Like you're a good businessman. And if you're like willing to go all in on this, it's got to be great.
Well, here's the crazy thing that we just learned. When you eat it like through a chew or the capsules or whatever, depending on the individual's gut biome, your stomach acids can eat 10 to 90% of the bioavailability. So some people have like this crazy great experience with it, and some people are like, "Oh, I got ripped off." I just had a great experience with it. We've made some big progress to where, that won't happen. But the powder's been like 90%, 95% of people just like felt it and it's good to go. That's why we sell the most of that. But had I been one of those people where it ate 90% of the bioavailability, I wouldn't be working on it. So it's interesting. It's just like a resolve. Like I had the resolve of I'm going to do this and nothing's going to fucking stop me. And like, I had to fire a financial advisor because he said I was stupid putting this much of my net worth into it. But here we are. We figured all this shit out, and we might make a profit eventually and save some lives, which is, I think, more important.
Yeah, man. Like it's super fucking cool. Like I had something else that I had to mind that I just lost it, but I was thinking about something else. But that's what I was thinking of. So like I take this medication. I think I might have told you about it. It's called Relistor. It's a constipation medication for opioid usage.
Okay.
And essentially like what they figured out is we have like neurons in our stomach. There's neurons all over the place. That's why like the gut biome is such a weird thing, because we're not even like really one organism. We're just this mashup of tons and tons of organisms, and like, what is in your gut actually affects how you feel because of those neurons. Like it's like a brain down there. And so what they figured out was that you also have opioid receptors down there, and they get blocked, and it basically locks your guts up to where they just don't work anymore. So I take like a bunch of like normal over-the-counter constipation medications to where like I shit butter every day. But a lot of the time I can't get it to go out of my stomach, even though it's butter, just because my stomach is not working well. And this medication is supposedly opens up the opioid receptors in your stomach and doesn't clog them up with opioids, and allows your guts to work better. That being said, it doesn't work very well. I haven't tried the shot version of it yet. I have a sample of it to try. I figured I'd try it like if I get really in the weeds and I'm down like 2 days, no shit, I'll try it out. But like, I wish the medication worked better. But my point is that like you might be able to find something to add to that powder to counteract what's going on in the gut. It's just finding the right thing.
And we're pretty confident that we're going to be able to, but just figuring that out. And there's been a ton of companies that have tried doing this, and everybody just kind of gives up, or they go into this whole wellness, like, oh, take it for 30 days, and
Yeah.
if you can't feel these effects, we'll give you your money back. And we're like, no, this is an alternative for partying, and it's a good time. So,
It's got to be a tough position to like, if you get an email from somebody saying it doesn't work, like you want to make it right and make that person, whole. But at the same time, like when you're dealing with drugs and drug addicts, possibly that could be a lie,
yeah,
and it's like, oh, I didn't feel anything. I want my money back. And then 10 minutes later, there's an order under somebody else's name to the same town. You know what I mean?
the same time.
So
Yeah.
like, there's got to be some like give and take in that, and you'll have to figure something out. But dude, and like now that you have this infrastructure in place, you could start maybe branching out and finding other substances that do similar things or maybe do different things. Like maybe you could find something that's a stimulant that,
Yeah.
you could make just because you've got the infrastructure in place, you've got the, people that can make the products. Like at this point, send somebody
Yeah.
down to Brazil and go fuck around in the jungle for a while and find me something good.
We oh God, the thing that makes you feel happy in chocolate, I'm lacking. I forget what it is. Theobromine. I got some 98% pure theobromine, and I put it up my nose, and holy shit, did that like give a come up? But then the crash was just
Brutal.
incredible. So I didn't think to try it any other way. So now that I think about it, maybe I'll try it sublingually or eating
Yeah.
it.
You never know because
Um,
it hits you different in different ways.
yeah,
Like when I did drugs, when I started with Oxycontin, the first time I took one, my buddy came over and we were just hanging out and he's like, "Hey man, you guys want to take some pill?" And I'm like, "Yeah, fuck yeah." Like I'd taken Vicodins for years. Like every time I was
yeah.
at the racetrack, I had a bottle of Vicodin just in case, and I'd get fucked up and have some fun at night and then race during the day. But god damn, I'm really off today. I just lost my freaking train of thought again. What was I talking about?
How different drugs impact people
Different drugs.
differently.
Yeah. Okay. So the first time I took it, my buddy comes over and I'd given him Vicodin, all the time because we just, I got a free script. Yeah, here, take a couple. I didn't really care. I wasn't addicted to it back then. So it comes time to take the pills. He pulls out one Oxycontin 80 and he gets like a knife and he cuts me this tiny, tiny little sliver. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Are you going to skimp me? Like giving me a quarter of a pill? Like, what are you doing? I give you Vicodin all the time. And he's like, dude, you don't want any more than that. I'm like, oh, come on, man. I'm not a fucking pussy. Give me a half. And I convinced him to give me like a big quarter, essentially,
Okay.
Maybe a third. And dude, I got so fucking sick. It was brutal. Like I had a great time for like an hour and then I got so sick. And then like an hour later, I felt great again. But after that, I was like, I don't want that anymore. That shit is gnarly. Like I did not enjoy that at all. The sick part of it. And I didn't take any more for like 6 months or a year maybe. And at that time, like I was still running weed. And I had a buddy who like broke himself in half twice. Like he had a massive car crash, broke his back, broke his pelvis, broke his sternum, like literally split himself into like a goddamn wishbone. And he had a script for 80s. And he's like, take some. I'm like, no, man. And I told him the story. He's like, dude, you got to snort it. You snort it, it doesn't do that to you. So we racked out fucking lines, man. And I was hooked, baby. Oh, I was hooked. And then, I snorted them for maybe 6 months, maybe a year. And then one day a buddy came over. I was out of pill. He had some and he was smoking it. And he was not about to chop any of it up. So I smoked it with him. And I don't know that I ever snorted one again after that. I am glad that I never got into the needles because I'm sure it would have just been the next level.
Yeah. People smoke them too?
Oh, yeah, man. They taste like burning fiberglass in a way. They kind of smell like burning. And like the first time you taste it, you're like, ew, it kind of tastes like smoking a cigarette backwards. But then after a couple times, it's like the greatest taste you've ever had in your life. Every once in a while, I get a whiff of some like burning cotton or burning like rubber, and I just go, oh, there it is. That's the one.
I haven't smoked a cigarette in quite a while
Me
for
neither.
because I started like when I was a kid, everybody smoked.
Yeah.
And it was like the thing to do. Like you could walk into this bakery by my house, and if you had 3 quarters, you had a pack of cigarettes. Nobody was checking IDs. So we started young, like 12, 13. And then I quit. This is the hardest thing that I quit. Now I'm fucking vaping, but that's
Yeah.
another story.
Dude, I went from the cigs to the vape too.
But now when I like smell it, I'm like, that's
Oh, it's
fucking
so bad.
disgusting.
It's so
But
bad.
every time I would get fucked up and then be like, I haven't had a cigarette in a couple of years. Nobody's like, you want a cigarette? And, like one first cigarette would taste like shit. Then all of a sudden I'm doing 2 packs a day.
Yeah.
And it's just like that quick how you could go from something that tastes so fucking bad and be like, oh yeah, this is what I do now.
Yeah. What kind of
Yeah.
ciggies did you smoke?
Newports.
Oh, hell yeah, me too, baby. Newports all day. I actually, so my vape, I don't buy the I don't like the fruity stuff. Like the fruity stuff grosses me out. I think it tastes nasty. It gives you this like taste in your mouth that I just don't really like. So I have like a shop that I go to here in town that they sell, I buy tobacco and menthol, and I do like 80% tobacco, 20% menthol, and it tastes great. I love it.
In the European Union now, they made it so that you couldn't buy the flavor and the nicotine
Yeah.
together. So you have to like mix your own shit. When I let, God, that was 2019. It was still a thing in 2019 when
I
I
don't know
quit
what
it.
I'm going to do when they fucking do that here, if they do that here.
I don't think that's at the top of the list anymore.
No.
Yeah.
That's something that could have happened under Kamala easily.
Oh,
Oh, think
easily.
of the children. Oh my God, the
Oh,
children.
no, no, no. They were saying it flavors disproportionately affect minorities.
Oh God.
Like, bro, I
Come
love
on, grow up.
I almost said what flavor that I vape, and that would sound racist as fuck, so I'm not gonna say that. But I like my flavors of menthol.
I got me some watermelon.
How'd you know?
Hey, I when I worked at the bar in San Francisco, the first thing that I did when I started working there was discontinue Hennessy. And my boss was like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Because it brings a brag crowd." And he's like, "You know what? You're right. Let's get rid of that shit." And I still to this day, this happened to me twice, and it was almost the same exact conversation. Black guy comes in, "Hey man, let me get some Ciroc and some juice." I'm like, "All right, man. What kind of juice you want?" I got pineapple juice, orange juice, grapefruit juice. Yeah, give me some grapefruit juice. I give him, some fucking vodka grapefruit, serve it to me. Hey, man, why ain't this shit purple?
Grapefruit juice.
And what do
That's
you
funny.
do? What do you do? You try to explain, hey, man, that's grapes are one fruit and grapefruit is another. And they just, I was afraid I was going to get shot at that point.
Yeah, smart.
I had another guy come in once. This guy was great. I really enjoyed talking with him. He brought his family in. He was a Mexican guy, gangster, fucking like a real deal gangster. And I, was kind of into that world for a long time. So I enjoy talking to those people, and I can talk to them on their level and have a decent conversation about shit like that. And at one point he was like, "Man, this place is so fucking cool." Cause I worked on Pier 39, and like we had a tiki bar in the back of the pier that looked right at Alcatraz, right at the water. So we're like,
Oh,
I was
nice.
like 10
Yeah.
feet from the water. I'll send you a picture after the show. It's fucking a beautiful place. And he was just like, "This place is so fucking cool." Like we had an arcade in there. He's like, "I can't believe I've never came out here before." And he's like, "This is actually the first time I've seen the ocean." I go, "No shit."
Oh, wow.
And so we're on Pier 39. So I'm thinking this guy must be from like Detroit or something like that. So I go,
Yeah.
"Where are you from?" He's like, "Oh, I'm from Lafayette." I'm like, "Oh my God, you took Bart here?"
Wow.
Yeah, you live. These guys. I mean, it's sad, and I talked to him about it. I was like, "Man, you guys like out there in Oakland in that area, you guys never leave your block, and it's
Yeah.
just not fucking healthy." And he's like, "I know. We're gonna be doing this shit a lot now." And
Yeah.
it's just like you get stuck in this life where you think that the end all be all is your block. I always like when I went to line school, there was no thought of leaving California. Like I was always under the impression, like I don't know if you've ever lived in California, but when you live there, there's no other place in the world to live besides California. There's no reason to go anywhere else. It's the greatest place on earth.
I might have got to late stage communist California.
Yeah.
I was company I started, I would spend half of the year in Los Angeles.
Yeah. But
and I
you
couldn't
also
wait to
had
get the fuck out of there.
But you had been other places. I had
Yeah,
only lived in California, and like I'd traveled a little bit, but not enough to where like. Anyways, I go to line school, and it was right away. I was like, oh shit! Like there's zero chance I'm getting a job in California. It's just not going to happen. And like at that point, it was like, well, what am I going to do? You know? And I was looking at Florida. We were looking at Tennessee, where you're at. You know, and then I wasn't looking at Idaho at all, but I got a call. Like I was, you know, after I got out of line school, I got an offer to go back to the bar and work, and I turned it down because like the money would have been nice because I spent 30 grand on college, but my thought process was if I get stuck in that bar for too long, like I'm not going to be doing the resumes and I'm just not going to do what I need to do. So I had to turn that down. And I was, you know, all kinds of resumes out everywhere. And one day I just got a call from a guy in North Dakota. Like I never sent them a resume. I don't know how they got my resume, but I got a call and I got an offer and I took it. And at the time, like I was planning on moving to North Dakota because I didn't get it. Like, you know, I was like, well, okay, we'll move to North Dakota. It'll be 4 years at the most, and then we'll be out of there. And like then I got there and it was like, holy shit. Like we're on Mars right now. Like there's nowhere to live. The rent for an apartment there was more than New York City at the time because there wasn't enough apartments for the people that lived there. Like the town that I worked in was a town of 400 people. By the time I was there was between 6 and 800,000 people living there. The roads couldn't support, you know, everything that like the roads weren't beefy enough. They weren't wide enough. I sat in traffic every day. And immediately it was like, there's no way I'm moving here. And I had like, luckily the job they offered to transport you to and from Idaho every couple weeks. So I ended up in Idaho and fuck man, it's the only like smart thing I've ever really done with my life is move here and buy this house. I didn't think that I could buy a house after I got hurt because like I had a decent savings, but it kind of dwindled during like I bought a lot of winter gear. I rented an apartment. So I went from like, I think I saved like 50 G's before. I was down at like 9, 10. So I was starting to get a bit worried, you know, and there was just no fucking, like, I didn't think there was any way I could get a house. It's like I got hurt on $14 an hour. I've only got like 10 grand on me right now. Like I have to pay this loan off still. And luckily my ex-wife was like, hell bent on getting a loan, and she found some sleazy, you know, mortgage broker that was able to get me a loan, and I bought the fucking house, and
nice.
You know, the rest is history.
What year was that?
It was in 2015.
Okay,
almost 10 years now. Yep, I paid $214,000 for the house, and right now it appraises for like $475.
Nice.
Yeah, so I did pretty good on that.
It's like Bitcoin.
Yeah. I'm very happy with Bitcoin today. I look at the price and I can't even believe it's real. It's just like, this is just some obscure thing that like I believe in and very few people do. And like, there was a while there where it hit, you know, the all-time high and then it just kind of went sideways. I was just like, fuck, man, I'm a little nervous that if it doesn't.
Every time I fucking buy it, it goes sideways. So
yeah,
I sold. And it went up. You're welcome.
God, but I was scared. I was like, man, if we don't hit like a decent number in this bull run, like who knows what happens? Like if we only hit it, say if we hit that 78 and then it just went sideways and then done. It's like, okay, then Bitcoin's burned at that point. Like it's over. If it didn't do what it's doing now, it could have been over, but.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine. Sorry if you heard that little cha-ching. I forgot to put the phone on vibrate.
It's all good, dude.
I imagine that if Harris got elected, it would have stayed on the same course. But this is just, you know, especially since they're going to make a reserve out of it and all that. I'm surprised it's actually this low right now.
Really?
Like this is everything that everybody's ever dreamed of. You have a president who's going to let people who understand cryptocurrency help with the regulation. The government said that they're going to hold a reserve and make a real reserve out of Bitcoin. Like, what more could the market want for a bull run?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. And speaking on that, like, I was listening to that Javier Milei interview today, and what a badass. What a
Yeah.
badass.
So did you watch his speech in Davos?
Where he told them they were all a bunch of crooks, and
I was so surprised that he didn't have an unfortunate accident on
I
his way
know
out.
it was so ballsy.
And I'm just like kind of stunned that they're letting this happen. Like the guy walks around without security.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow, that's
because he's
nuts.
a man of the people.
Wow.
Well, sorry, I didn't fact check. I just saw like a headline like he walks around without security because
I could
nobody in
see
his country
that.
wants to kill him.
I could see that.
But I think everybody else in the world, like the elites, would want to kill him.
Yeah.
Like
CIA,
they
DEA
were at 1,700% inflation
going
when he
up
took over.
1% per day.
No, it was going even faster that
Was it?
December. It is what he said. I was also doing cardio when I watched this, which I
Yeah.
hate. So I was like fighting for my life at the same time. But yeah, I think they were like they were just starting to hit hyperinflation when he took over. Like it was spiraling out of control. And now they're at 2%.
Did you see that video that I sent you of all that money in Venezuela?
I was eating dinner and I didn't scroll in. That was just
Dude,
funny.
this guy's walking down a street. I like you can't really see anything else, but just on the side of the road, hundreds of thousands of dollars laying in the street. It's
That's
like
crazy.
unreal. I remember I heard a story about some guy in Weimar, Germany who was like pulling his life savings right before the shit hit the fan so he could get the fuck out of there. And by the
Yeah.
time he pulled his, $1 million or whatever the fuck it was, the check that the money was printed on was worth more than the amount that the check was for. And it happened within a matter of days, just gone.
So the thing that I wanted to talk about out of that, and like I said, I was um running at the time, which is not, and there wasn't an ice cream truck on the other end, so it was not a good time.
It's not ideal.
But I'm trying to go through our text.
Yeah, I know. It's too
Jaguar
much.
commercial. um, so the utopia fallacy is, see, he talked about this. He said, I consider myself an anarchist, but in practice, I'm a minarchist because I have to deal with the situation that's in front of me.
Yeah, reality.
And Dave Smith did an address to the Libertarian Party like a week or two ago. And he was talking about how they shit on Angela for bringing Trump in. But on the other side of that, Angela was able to negotiate with Trump and get a promise of a libertarian, promise on Bitcoin, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Ross
And it
Ulbricht,
really, yeah,
which is huge.
Yes, absolutely. And it really made me think about the way that I approach things and think about things like, oh, until the government's gone, I'm not going to be happy. But like, he used this example of, okay, let's say I don't like square tables.
Yeah,
Lex, I
I
flew
love
all the
that.
way here.
I love that.
I flew all the way here, and you're interviewing me at a square table. I have to leave in 2 hours, so there's nothing we can do about this table right now. So do I leave and not do the interview, or do I try to get a square table next time or a round table next time? And like this utopian view, I think is one of the biggest things that set me back thinking the more that I think about it, like, no, unless it's everything, it's nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really something important to think about, um, as we people move forward. This all or nothing thing is never going to happen, first off. Even if he went in and just slashed all the government agencies, he explained,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know this to be fact, but he seemed pretty convinced that this was the case. And if he went in and just cut all the government agencies, hyperinflation would have ran out of control. The party that they overthrew would start food riots, and then he would be out of office, and it would just be the socialists again. And like his pragmatic approach, well, his approach is very extreme if you look at it, because they said it could never
Hmm.
be done, and he's cut a lot. But a pragmatic approach getting to anarchism is, I think, something more reasonable and a path to get there. I never saw a path to get there. And he just shits on agorists. It's funny.
Yeah. Dude, this is so funny because I had Michael Storm on like 2 weeks ago, and this is something he talks about all the time. He calls it the bell curve. He said where everything falls underneath the bell curve, like you can't just have this utopian view. You have to like be able to move within. And he was talking about, so his show was called Toward Anarchy. And he said, and I don't remember, I was just looking it up on ChatGPT to see the person who said this, and it could be one of 5 or 6 people. But anyways, he was explained that the reason his show was called Toward Anarchy is because this person said that that ought to be the goal of human civilization, of humanity, is to move toward anarchy. Like, that doesn't mean that you have to be this utopian where it's all or nothing. Like, we should be taking steps toward anarchy, and that ought to be the way we operate as human beings. And that was something that he said in that section where he was talking about utopianism. He was like, I am an anarchist. I operate as a minarchist, but as a minarchist, we are moving toward anarchy.
Yeah. And the story he told about the agorist, he's actually, everybody should watch that. I'm not totally convinced that Lex isn't some sort of psyop,
Oh yeah, for
but
sure.
the interview is great.
I think he's one of these middle level management ops where you've got some guys, because you're going to have these group of guys who are like 30 to 50 essentially, who are going to be going to the comedy clubs, who are going to be operating within the popular culture to try and make friends. And these guys are big enough where they're getting information. Like I know, like No Agenda, they get information from, supposed 3-letter agency employees all the time. Some of it turns out to be bunk, and they've fallen for it before. And now they're pretty good at sussing it out. But I don't doubt for a second that there are high-level people in the CIA that are in conversations with these podcasters all the time as friends. You know what I mean? Like Joe Rogan and Mike Baker are friends.
Yeah. Mike Baker.
Yeah, he's the worst.
I like the way he talks. Like, he's a very persuasive, thoughtful
Spook.
person with his words. And I like the way that he dunks on people on Twitter. But man, I was listening, like, I was just really busy. And so I would listen to his podcast because it was like 12 minutes of just current events.
Mhm.
But then he's just like, oh, yeah, we have to nuke Iran. Everything led to we have to nuke Iran. I'm like, okay, buddy, I don't think we need to nuke anybody.
Yeah.
I think we have no business in any foreign affairs,
Yep.
actually.
And his replacement, Sean Ryan, said the exact same thing when he was on Joe Rogan just a few weeks ago. And I saw another interesting Sean Ryan clip that's been floating around. I'll send it to you after. It's long. I was going to clip it, but it's really long. And it's not
I can't stand that guy's fucking voice.
Yeah, he's horrible. He's not a podcaster. Like, he can't even talk, The guy can't fill 10, if he had to filibuster for 5 seconds, he'd be screwed. Anyways, like, he's going around to all of these different people just for 5 minutes telling different people, do you know that we're sending money to the Taliban every day? Look at how much money we're sending to the Taliban every day. Look at the Taliban. And it's just on and on and on and on and on. And it's like, interesting. What are we supposed to say about that? Obviously something has to be done about it. And I would imagine his idea of whatever needs to be done does not just involve cutting off finance. Like, they don't want Afghanistan ran by the Taliban. It's embarrassing to them.
Yeah, I can see that.
They got embarrassed.
Who wants
these generals are going to get fired?
It's like, that's how the USSR fell, and we just like kind of fell into that trap. Our own fucking trap that we set.
Yeah.
Afghanistan. But you know what we are missing is the most important topic in the world right now. There's a biological male, claims to be a female, that got elected to Congress.
Yeah.
And the Speaker of the House stepped up and said, can't go in the women's room.
So beautiful and brave. He's so brave, so courageous.
I have one point on this. No women in their right mind want somebody born with a penis in the women's room unless they have cocaine.
Or 8 to 9 inches.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, just in general, like
Yeah, no, I
casually
get you.
socializing.
Yeah.
But no, the thing about that whole dog and pony show was Ukraine started using our long range weapons into Russia.
Yeah.
Russia changed their Putin changed their decree on nuclear force, and they have their doomsday plane flying over Moscow. But you know what? That dude is not pissing in the women's bathroom.
Nope.
He can go into his private bathroom that each person's afforded when you're a member of Congress. God forbid.
Unless you're Ron Paul and your office is a broom closet.
Yeah. Is just so like nothing. As much as I felt like things shifted when Trump got elected, we're on the verge of World War III, and we're talking about a dude pissing in the women's bathroom.
Yeah, it's
who fucking
crazy.
cares? Who cares? I don't care. Like, don't go. I wouldn't. Like, if some dude went in the bathroom after my wife, I would do something about that. But don't we have other shit to talk about right now? Don't we have these fucking radical judges getting pushed through the Senate?
We've got people in Philadelphia who are going against their own Supreme Court ruling, saying that you cannot count ballots that aren't done correctly or are from people who don't live here. And this fucking woman just says, nope, I'm going to do it. And even in Philadelphia or in, Pennsylvania, their Supreme Court is 5-2 liberal.
Wow.
And they still said, no, you can't do that. And these people are just saying, no, we're going to do it anyway. So there are actual ballots being counted in Philadelphia still today from people who don't live there.
Like, I know it is a fact. I was just like skimming, but also having dinner. We woke up at 6:30 this morning. We just worked. So that was like the only bit of time my wife and I had together.
Yeah.
But I was still looking at Twitter, trying to get a little podcast juice in there.
Yeah.
But it looks like that shit didn't fly from what I read.
Hopefully.
So for whatever Senate seat was being fought over or whatever, like it ended up, they came to a conclusion today, I think.
Well, that's good. I mean,
would hope
these people have to be put in their place. I mean, they cannot just be mini dictators. That was one of like the worst part of COVID, where these fucking governors realized that they actually have some power and, just become some fucking mini dictator that, speaking of mini dictators, people in Canada are now traveling to Montana to buy groceries because their inflation is so high and so out of control that they have to go out of country to pay for groceries now.
Castro's not doing a good job in Canada.
I mean, it's crazy, right? Like, who would have thought? How much longer does that guy have? It seems like he's been in power for a long time.
So one of my closest friends in the world lives in BC, and he came and he spent a couple weeks with me a couple months ago. And I guess they could do this vote of
confidence.
Confidence, sorry. But there's one party that this guy's just like a big power broker, and he's got Trudeau eating out of his hand. So this guy's pushing through all of his shit, and Trudeau's doing everything that he can for him.
Mm-hmm.
And there can't be a vote of no confidence because this one party holds enough power to where if everybody else wants it, they just still hold enough power. That being said, that there's a mandatory election this next fall.
Good for them. I mean, they're going to go for another liberal, but maybe they'll go less liberal.
No. I think God, what's his name? The conservative dude. Like everybody.
Oh, you think he'll get in?
Just from the people that I talked to in Canada, it's very similar to the way people talked about Trump but not in public.
Do they cheat?
Yeah, they're communists.
I mean, they all cheat, right? Like, yeah. I mean, I guess the question is, do they cheat to change elections? You know what I mean? Like there's going to be some fuckery going around with all, one of the weird things is we see those graphs and everybody's like, how Joe Biden got so many more votes, but also Trump got way more votes too. So, and
I think
to me, I feel like more people voted for Trump this time than the last time, but the numbers don't show that, which is Strange.
Um, Trump's up to 76 million again.
Oh, he is.
Now,
Okay.
yeah. So that's one thing. Like
You remember the
in
picture that was
California,
going
just
around
finished.
with the bar graphs and shit.
Yeah. And that was like Trump was at in the 60s still. Like they were both in the 60s,
Yeah.
and I think Trump has more votes than he got last time.
Okay. Well, that's good because I felt that. Like you can
Yeah.
feel the energy of the country right now. Like you watch all these videos, everybody, all the football players are doing the Trump dance. The UFC was fucking cool as shit. Where John Jones jumped out and gave Trump the belt, and they were talking for a minute. That was fucking cool. This is fun. It's fun to see.
Yeah.
Like, I hope that they're serious. I hope, like, I listened to an interview with Vivek the other day where he was like, we're going to delete entire agencies. I heard another one where they were asking him, like, how are you going to fire these people? I guess it's illegal to target people, as targeted firings. But he
so they're
said,
trying to.
what he did say, though, is that you can just say, hey, look, if your social security number ends in an even number, you're fired.
Yeah, so they're trying to stuff new agreements through before Trump comes into office to stop that.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the smartest thing to publicly display your strategy, but whatever. One thing that's really encouraging is Elon is on almost every call with Trump. So put fucking Rubio in for Secretary of State,
Yeah.
whatever.
Who cares?
Like Elon's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And Trump is convinced that, so am I, that Elon's probably the smartest person alive, if not ever. And he's just there. He's on the call with Ukraine. He's on the call with the CEO of Google. I read a bit of an article earlier that I forget the dude's name and I'd murder it because it's not Anglo. But he had a call scheduled with Trump, the CEO of Google, and all of a sudden Elon popped on the line, and he's like, "Oh fuck," basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been seeing this video on my YouTube feed for the last like week or so. It's have you heard of a guy named Chris Langan? Langan? Langan?
I don't think so.
I have never heard of him either, but apparently he's the smartest man in the world based by IQ. And he's a farmer.
Oh, I've seen that title. Keeps getting served to me on YouTube.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it's him and Michael Knowles. And I'm interested to watch it because I read a little bit about him and he seems interesting.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
we can't really discuss that too much based on neither one of us know who the fuck he is.
I'll be lucky if I can finish that Lex podcast in 4 days.
It's tough. It was a tough listen. I was trying to listen to it while I was editing podcasts today, and it's
just having rough. Time to do it. Like this podcast, when we do it once a week, is pretty much my social.
Nice. Well,
lately.
That's kind of been the reason that I've kept doing it, is because I enjoy it as a social, as a social.
There's a building maybe a mile and a half from my house. It was an old like quarter car wash, and they put in restaurants. In like the Peruvian, Cuban, Mexican, Thai, and at the end was a bar. And like that was where we would go. Quick lunch, easy. There's always a seat at the bar. It's like 10-seat bar. And I became friends with the owner. And the owner kind of took a shitty deal when he did it because it was his first time owning it, and he partnered with the owners of the building. And then he got funding to open another establishment. And when the people figured out that he was doing a second project, they just fired him as a minority owner. And then everybody fucking quit, every one of the employees. So like, and that was like 100% of our social life here in Nashville. But the nice thing is that friendship transferred over, so it wasn't us just there tipping a bartender or whatever.
That's cool.
And we've been able to like meet up. We're doing a Friendsgiving on Thanksgiving and that sort of thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I don't really have a social, like, I don't like bars. I worked in bars for 10 years, and it's just like, I don't really drink either. Like I think the last time I drank was probably like a year and a half ago. Like I just don't really enjoy it all that much. Like once I started like I drank when I was in high school. And then once I started smoking pot, like drinking went like way away. And like I just never really got back into it. Like I'll have actually no, like I know on my birthday last February I had an old fashioned at the restaurant that we went to. So like I'll have an old fashioned every once in a while or something like that, but like for the most part I get a headache. I can't sleep good when I'm drinking, and then I wake up feeling like shit the next day. And a lot of it's probably because I take medication. Like I take a lot of medication, and it doesn't mix well. And I just don't enjoy it. So like I don't like going to bars with my buddies or anything like that because they just get hammered and want to get in fights. And like that's not my thing.
Yeah.
Like my buddy just started working at this bar as a security guard, and like he's been going through it. He's had some drug issues and he's on steroids right now, I think, because he went from being like gaunt and skinny meth head to like jacked immediately. And so he took his job as a security guard at a bar. And he's told me this story like 5 times. He's in love with this story. He tells it to everybody. So apparently this guy punched his girlfriend in the bar. And so my buddy and the other security guard and the bartender took him outside and beat the living shit out of him, knocked his teeth out, kicked his face in, these types of things. And he's all fucking proud of this shit. And like me, like non-aggression principle, it's not our job to fucking do that. And as like somebody who's worked in bars and has managed security, I told him straight up, I would have fired you on the spot for that. Like,
I would have given him a promotion. You
can't do that. It's even here, like if that guy calls the cops, you're fucked. You're fucked. They knocked his teeth out and like you got it.
We both come from a different time though too.
No, and like I came from the time where that was the way to do things. And I have no problem. Like if you're at a party and that happens, beat the fuck out of that guy. But when a business is involved, you just can't act that way anymore. It's unfortunate. The guy probably deserved it. Huh? I didn't hear you. Sorry.
We need to make America great again.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Pedophiles and dudes that hit women.
I saw a video the other day on X of these guys burning a pedophile alive in the middle of the street in South America. Everybody's cheering.
Yeah, good thing that the camera only goes up to here.
Yeah, no shit.
A little aroused.
But it sucks. Like I'm like on the same page as you. Like the guy probably deserved it. And, if you beat your wife, shit's going to happen. But like as somebody who's ran a bar and been like friends with the owner that ran that bar, you just can't do it anymore. It's you're looking at jail time. You could be. I have a friend that I bartended with that almost went to prison for overserving somebody.
Wow.
Overserved him. Guy went and drove home, killed somebody, and they went after the bar.
I'm trying to find the 2020 vote tallies.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the fucking bars, man. I had another guy that we worked together in this bar, and he was a cool kid. His name was Sergey, and he didn't show up for work one day, and we didn't really think much of it because he was a party animal. And then he didn't show up the next day, and so my boss started calling around, called his family. Nobody had heard from him. So we finally got a hold of the police, and he had killed himself in a motorcycle accident days before, and nobody knew. Sad.
So there's only 5 million less votes in 24 than 2020. And that's like 3.5%. Like I can give that to mail-in voting.
Yeah, no, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
5%'s not. No, I'm cool with that. That's margin of error shit,
Yeah, Trump got 2.5 million more votes this time than he did last time.
Okay. Oh, that seems about right to me because I just based on the feel of the country, the aura, how everything,
the vibe,
the vibe. It's a vibe election, right?
It's a vibe. Well, did you see the initial polls for the 28 Democratic Party? Kamala's winning by like 40%.
No way. Oh my God. I love it. I was hoping, I thought her career was over, but I am not.
Those people do not want to win.
No.
Do you know what JD Vance would do to that woman on a debate stage?
Oh my God. It would be incredible. JD Vance is better than her in every aspect. Just
I don't
he's
know that he gives such good head.
yeah, that's that. Well, he is in the Senate, so you never know,
He
right?
is in the Senate.
We played this video the other night of speaking of corrupt government officials. We played this video last night on the podcast of a guy bitching about the IRS, how they hired all those, new agents to come down on us and steal our money and, audit our fucking crypto accounts and all that bullshit. There was something like 15 million or like or it was like 2,500 IRS employees owed 15 or $50 million in back taxes. And
Yeah.
a lot of these people have been promoted.
Yeah. And it was brought to the attention of the agency and they didn't do anything about it.
I'm looking at the picture you just sent me.
Oh yeah. Connor sent me that. Just
Dude, the AI shit is getting good. I need to figure out how to do it. I've had some ideas for like short stories because I'm a sci-fi guy. Like I read sci-fi all the time, and like I've had ideas for short stories and stuff like that where I think it would be cool to like feed a short story into one of these things and have them create some 10-minute video or something like that.
So I'm on the sidelines with a lot of this shit because it's happening so fast that if I take the time to learn something,
It's going to be
it's going to be
irrelevant.
obsolete in 3 months.
Yeah.
So unless I absolutely need to do it, I'm just not doing it right now. But I feel like there'll be winners in a year maybe where it's like, hey, this is about as good as it's gonna get. Do it this way. And that's when I'll start putting energy into that.
I bet you could make some cool happy ads.
Oh, we do.
Yeah. Like I've seen a couple of your ads that were good. Like the one that you and your wife filmed was really good. But like I could imagine you making some really fun stuff, have some fucking Tony the Tigers out running around with you and shit. You could do some really crazy shit. Yeah, I guess you'd have to worry about copyright, but you could still have some fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, we just started looking at this app where they have people that have signed up for it that have gone through and trained the AI on their video, on their face and their voice.
Mm-hmm.
So you can just like $10 a month, you can have this person pitch your product for you, and you can hardly tell. When they talk for more than 20 seconds, you're like, okay, the cadence is just a little off. So it's AI. Um, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna break it up with like product shots and shit in between, so it's not like you're staring at this robot face. It's gonna be really hard to tell in a couple years.
So
Really
I just had an idea. I don't know how I had this idea, but so when I was living in San Francisco, I got sober in San Francisco, and I got sober with an AA group called the Wharf Rats, who were deadheads. They're like the whole Wharf Rats is a reference to a Dead song, Grateful Dead song, and like they went to a lot of shows. I went to a ton of shows with them, but like when we went to Fish, they did this cool thing where they had like a booth set up, like outside of the actual. It was in the venue, but it was in like the lobby of the venue essentially. And they set it up. It was the Wharf Rats sober tent. So like we had AA literature there. You had water and just like a spot for people to go if they were, feeling like they were going to take some acid or something like that. I bet you if you got somebody to go around and tour Fish with a booth, you guys could fucking kill it. Like that would be expensive for sure. But no better place to advertise than a Fish show or something like that.
No, because it's pretty saturated.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They have like they call it Shakedown Street, and it's just an open air drug market outside of every Fish show.
Yeah. No,
So
yeah.
like
Sure.
when the competition's the real thing, it's because people are like, oh, well, this is like around the same price as a drug. Why wouldn't I just go get the real thing? Well, fentanyl is what I would say because
Yeah.
we test everything for heavy metals, pesticides, narcotics. So like I would err on the side of the stuff that's maybe not the real thing, but tested.
Yeah.
But people are just like, when you can just go down to Shakedown Street, grab yourself a balloon on your way over, and buy fucking anything. Why would they buy that? So we're more like middle of America, places that don't have recreational cannabis. You know, I have friends in Vegas that I send this stuff to for free, and they still do cocaine. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? So, anyway, I digress.
Yeah, well, it'll, you guys are gonna figure it out. Like, I
Oh,
think,
we're great. Like we
I
have,
think there's a serious market for this shit.
yeah, there's a big demand for it. It's just we had to crack the nut of it doesn't work for everybody when they eat it. That's it, and which we finally did. So,
Well, that's cool. I was
um,
thinking, so like I had an idea last week. I was thinking that we should do some like Tim Dillon style ads with Happy where I fucking, so here was like my idea when we were talking earlier about the bathrooms. As drug addicts, you go into bathrooms a lot and go
yeah,
and get high in bathrooms. So like one of the fun things we did in San Francisco is like some of the people who would come in like worked at hotels or restaurants or something. They go, "Where do you work?" "Oh, I work at the Hyatt Regency, downtown." I go, "Ooh, that place has got nice bathrooms." We used to go in there and shoot up some fentanyl and this and that, and then you can go, "Well, wait a minute. We've got this new. You don't have to go hide in the bathroom. You can buy it and just do it at the dinner table."
when I was traveling for business, I was in London, and I go in the back. I'm in a swanky hotel, and a guy walks up to me. He goes, "Are you James?" I go, "No." He goes, "You want some cocaine?" I said, "How'd you know?" And we just walked across to the ATM.
Oh shit! It's like when the Uber pulls up to you. "Hey, is your name James?" "Yes."
Yeah, every time. That night, I was hanging out with these business guys. They had the guy had a really nice loft on water and all that. And I've never applied myself at chess, but the few people that I've played with, I've won. And this guy's like, and I told him, I said, because like I was with a woman for quite a while, and she taught me how to play. And within like 4 or 5 games, I was beating her. And he's like, "Oh, I'll smoke you." So we sat down with his bottle of scotch. I just worked this guy. He was fucked up too. And then we drank the whole bottle of scotch, and I stood up and I fell into his glass table
Oh
and
wow!
split my eyebrow open. And I guess I blacked out then, and then I woke up the next day just on this guy's couch.
Wow!
Um, and like I wake up and I just have this my eyebrow split here and just dry blood.
Oh man!
Yeah, it was a little while. I was a little while back then, way back
I
6
had,
years ago.
I had another story, but my brain is somewhere else tonight because I already forgot again. Well, on that, let's kill it for the night, huh? Romper room.